Hello there, Kevin.
Good to have you on the show. Well, first of all, good news from Reform UK this morning. Well, let's remind ourselves of what Robert Jenrick had to say when he made a speech about Reform's plans to cut our grotesque £350 billion a year welfare bill. This is Robert Jenrick speaking earlier.
Let me speak very plainly. If people who are capable of work refuse, then they'll get nothing. That's fair. How can it be that one family on a street with working parents strive, work hard, only to fund the lifestyle of another who chooses not to bother to work at all, who isn't even really looking for a job? This isn't just an aberration, a small number of very isolated cases to be dismissed as a rounding error. It's an epidemic that's been allowed to take hold across our country and has now spread into a full-blown national crisis. My message today, for those taking everyone else for mugs, under a Reform government, it's going to stop.
Lee, basically we are paying at least 1.3 million foreigners pretty much full benefits. How did we get to a situation in this country that we just decided to bestow upon foreigners who arrive in this country, quite often illegally, full welfare rights? We pay them full benefits. Well, how did this ever happen?
Yeah, we're quite right, Kevin. We've been a soft touch for years. It's been weak, spineless politicians over in that place in Westminster where I work who have allowed this to happen. And both mainstream parties have been as bad in the uncontrolled migration. We are a soft touch. We know it benefits Britain. But also, just say this, 1.2 million, you just quoted there, that's about right. How many other countries in the world would have 1.2 million people in that country claiming benefits? How many Britons are abroad claiming benefits in one country? It's nowhere near that figure. It's staggering. And the policy that Rob and Richard introduced there is all about fairness. Fairness to the hard-working British taxpayer gets up in the morning and goes and does a shift and does that 5, 6, 7 days a week to put food on the table, to pay the mortgage, that struggle along to do the right thing by their family and their country. Yet we see people from other countries coming into our country, freeloading, living a life on benefits once they've got ILR, no intention of contributing at all towards our society. They are a drain on our society, and we cannot afford it. This country is £3 trillion in debt, and we're paying lazy, bone-idle foreigners to sit on their backsides in this country and do nothing. And it's got to stop, and we are the only party that will put a stop to it.
I want to talk to you in a little while, Lee, about your recent trip over to northern France. I thought that was very interesting. But before we get to that, the other sort of raft of what Robert Jenrick was saying in terms of easy, early, immediate savings to be made would be to crack down on the amount of benefits and welfare we're handing out for disability reasons, in terms of too many young people, I think, being allowed not to work for life because they've got anxiety issues or mental health issues, or they're depressed. So you would crack down on the ease with which we hand out benefits to people who just say they've got mental health issues. You'd get to grips with that, yeah?
We need to get to grips with it. Everybody suffers from a little bit, Kevin, of mental health problems, anxiety problems. People worry, people lay awake at night. I mean, I know people that lie awake at night worried about how they're going to pay their mortgage or their rent, or will they have a job at the end of the month. That's people under real pressure. They don't just drop off sick and go and claim a benefit. They carry on and they soldier through it. And that's what we've always done in this country. But over the past 10 years or so, the amount of PIP claims, or DLA as it was, has doubled in this country. We've not suddenly become sick overnight. What people have seen is there's an easier way. There's an easier way to make a living in this country, and that's a life on benefits. And, I live in a relatively poorer constituency where the average wage is about £30,000 a year. I know, I've dealt with in the past benefit claimants, that's getting £40,000 and £50,000 a year net. Most of my constituents can only dream of that sort of income coming into their household. It's unfair. It has to stop. And the best, I think, one of the best remedies for people who's got mild depression or a mild anxiety is a good day's work.
Couldn't agree more. Do you think that this government is in a state of delusion about our welfare problems? I think we've got two massive problems that this Prime Minister, this government, I think deliberately try not to confront. They try to avoid it. And those two problems are the more than £3 trillion national debt, which costs us nearly £3,500 every second to service. They don't like to talk about that. And the other concrete boots around our ankles economically is the welfare budget, the massive, grotesque £350 billion a year welfare budget, which they think will, within 4 years, be up to around about 410 billion. So it keeps going up and up and up. So it's great to hear Reform UK coming up with proposals to do something about this hideous welfare bill that we got at the moment. But the problem is we've still got 3 years of Labour who clearly aren't going to do anything about it. It's going to get worse and worse and worse. And that is very worrying economically, isn't it?
It is worrying, Kevin. I mean, the Labour Party was built up on, being a party for the workers, looking after working people, protecting their rights, making sure that they had a safe community living, that they had good employment rights. They were heavily unionised back in the day in big industries, and the Labour Party had played a decent role in that. But now they're not the party of the workers; they're just the party of the shirkers, and they make a good living. They make a good living out of keeping people poor in this country. There's nothing big and clever about living a life on benefits. We are literally giving people's lives away. We're throwing them on a scrap heap at an early age, sometimes when they're children, and they're living a life on benefits when they could achieve so much more, have a much better life, a much more prosperous life, and pass on, a better life to their children. And we're stuck in this trap now. We've been in it for 25 years, where children are being born into workless households, and they think that's acceptable, and it's not acceptable. The way you break the poverty cycle in this country is through education, through hard work, through training, and through a decent job. And we have to get back to that. These ideas, by the way, which we are pushing now, they shouldn't be controversial. These weren't controversial ideas 40 and 50 years ago. This was mainstream stuff. And now we're being called all sorts of names in the left-wing media, saying we're harsh, we're cruel, we're wicked. This is normal stuff, this is. This is what my parents and grandparents are brought up on.
I couldn't agree more. Let's talk about that other issue that I think Labour are unlikely to do anything about, and yet the public is screaming for them to do something about. That, of course, is the migrant crisis and the number of boats coming over. These great mega dinghies now ferrying hundreds of people over in a single voyage. Something like 3,500 migrants have come across the Channel illegally since Andy Burnham took the reins about 3 weeks ago. So the problem is getting worse and worse and worse. Now, you were over there, I think it was beginning of last week. Principally, Lee, what did you learn from going to the north coast of France to meet those migrants? I mean, did you perceive the sheer scale of the problem? Because as I understand it, there are thousands of them over there on the north coast of France, milling around, waiting for their turn to get onto a mega dinghy. We've got a government doing nothing about it. What did you feel that you learnt the most when you went over there?
Well, I'm in the fortunate position, Kevin. This was my second visit. I went three years ago with the Home Affairs Select Committee. On my first visit, it was noticeable that it was all men, young men from Eritrea, Sudan, and other African countries. This time, the camp was much bigger, but there was lots of women and lots of children. And I would suspect that these were from countries like Afghanistan, maybe Iran or Iraq, and that sort of country, and a few from Africa, from Somalia as well. And you're quite right. I mean, the police don't give a monkeys, to be honest. They don't give a toss. They know that these migrants in these camps, once they're in a camp in northern France, they've basically got one foot in the UK. It might take them 6, 7, even 10 times, or they might be looking at the first time. But once they've paid the money, the 1,000 or 1,200 euros, They are literally in the UK, and they will keep trying and trying and trying. And these boats that we see now, I call them the Burnham boats. They're absolutely huge, these boats are. So the people smugglers are laughing at us. They can make nigh on £1 million for one crossing on one of these boats. And like you said earlier, these boats are actually being, indirectly, they're coming from China, but then they're being exported, they're coming to the UK to Folkestone, and we're sending them back out to Europe, and then they're coming back to the UK. You could not make this stuff up.
It's absurd.
It's an easy fix. Detain and deport every single one that comes into this country.
In terms of Burnham, he's allegedly on his listening tour of Britain. But the one thing he won't listen to is the pleas, the cries of the people of Britain. The number one issue in this country that people want solved is the migrant crisis. They want to stop the boats. He's just doesn't even really want to talk about it. He keeps telling us that Labour's plan to stop the boats is obviously working. It obviously is not working, Lee. You can see this. What do you make of his latest scheme, Mr. Burnham, which is to, if you like, use migrants as kind of weapons in the class war to plonk these huge migrant camps of 1,000 or more right on the doorsteps of middle-class villages around Britain? There's already 2 or 3 about to get these mega camps. There are more in the pipeline. It doesn't really get to grips with the problem, just using it or classifying it as a class war issue. We're going to make the middle classes do their share. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
It is ridiculous. I was in Suffolk last week and Norfolk. I visited the Barnum camp, and villagers there in nearby Thetford absolutely furious. They're up to 1,250 undocumented young fighting age males are going to be plonked into that camp, literally 1 mile away from the beautiful town of Thetford. And it wouldn't be so bad, Kevin, if these illegal migrants were detained securely in these camps. But we all know what's going to happen. They're going to be busting on a daily basis, probably taxis, bust into the village to mosey around, cause problems. We've got HMOs in Thetford as well, right next to a local primary school. These men, and I don't know what's up with the government and the previous government, these men are coming from backward cultures. They come from countries that don't respect our women and young girls. And there will be more sexual attacks, there'll be more rapes, and God forbid there'll be more murders. We know it's going to happen, and all they keep doing, this government, is saying now we're going to spread them around the country. I tell you what you're doing, Burnham, if you listen to this, because you're an absolute moron. He's not here to defend himself. You are spreading the problem all over the country, and it's going to get worse. People are going to get attacked. People are going to get beaten up and sexually molested by these people that you, Burnham, are importing into this country.
Yeah, he doesn't get it, does he? Labour for a long time have been trying to sell us this new business model about the migrant crisis. We're going to get them out of hotels, we're going to put them into disused military camps and different larger forms of accommodation, because that will save us a lot of money. Well, that's nice, but that's not what the people of this country want. We're not asking the government to save money on the accommodation of asylum seekers. We're asking them to stop the boats. We're asking them to stop these asylum seekers coming into the country. And yet Andy Burnham, like Starmer before him, continues to let thousands and thousands and thousands of mainly young male migrants break into the country illegally, shortly before we give them 50 quid a week benefits, free doctors, free dentists, free lawyers, free driving lessons, and so on and so forth. He's not getting to the heart of the problem, which is we need to stop the boats. He's just redistributing the asylum seekers. That's not what we want, is it?
It's literally spreading the misery around the country and saying that, because you've got a few quid in your back pocket, you're going to have to suffer as well. And one of the biggest problems we've got, Kevin, with these illegal migrants is the HMOs. It's an unbelievable problem. In my constituency, last year, we had an HMO which Serco took over. There was 2 nurses living in that HMO, working at my local hospital, and 2 other workers. Serco booted them out. They put 4 illegal migrants in. One of the illegal migrants went on to rape a young, vulnerable girl in Ashfield. He's got 13 years for that creature, as he was from Pakistan. This is another unintended consequence. Well, it's intended that workers who, were working in an area for maybe 6 months a year or on a temporary contract are being kicked out of HMOs all over the country, so we can put illegal migrants in who will not work. They're coming here, they're sponging off the system. Not only will they not work, they're going out committing all sorts of awful crimes. I mean, good God, what are we doing in this country?
Yeah, it's mad. I mean, nobody's suggesting that, all of these migrants are dangers to women. I mean, most of them are not, but some of them are, and that's the problem, Lee. And I've been talking to these poor villagers who've got the grim prospect of suddenly having migrant camps with 1,250 young men, 1,500, 1,000, plonked right next to villages. And apart from the fact that will ruin village life, it will make life for these villages completely different, particularly the children. It does really present a serious safety to women, danger to women problem, doesn't it?
It's a danger to everybody, women and girls especially, but also to pensioners, old people that are scared to go out. It's going to affect local businesses. People will literally, Kevin, be scared to go out. We've seen it before. You see it on social media. Gangs of these youths literally hanging around parks, hanging around schools, luring at women, getting up to all sorts of horrible stuff. I mean, frankly, it's disgusting. I don't want these men in my country. This is our country. We fought for centuries to make us a decent, safe, a brilliant country. I think the best country in the world. And over the past few years, successive governments decided to give it away to cultures that simply cannot adapt to our way of life, do not like us, got no intentions of working or respecting our law, our culture, or anything. It's disgusting. Every single one that's come over on a small boat should be sent back. It's as simple as that.
They've broken our laws. I don't know why they're allowed to stay.